What's good, everybody? Welcome to the Pull Up and Chat. My name is BJ Mathews, aka B. Just before we get started, follow us on the YouTube page, Pull Up Basketball Podcast, as well as Spotify, Twitter, Iheartradio, the Pull Up Basketball Podcast. Follow me on my Instagram, B Jizzle. Follow my co-host, Rick Masters at Rick Masters 23. Follow us on our Facebook for our Sunday shows every week. Hit that notification bell on the screen next to the subscribe button on our YouTube page. Get all our updated content. But let's get it popping. So a lot of talk in the NBA right now. You know, last night I think it was more of the day of the bigs or the night of the bigs, however you want to call it, because the two best big men I think we can all agree are Nikola Jokic and Joel Embiid had unbelievable performances last night. I believe Joel Embiid had 50 points and 12 rebounds against the Orlando Magic in a win, and then the Denver Nuggets, Nikola Jokic had 46 points and 14 rebounds against my team, the Clippers, as you guys know, so I got to see it firsthand. So we got to get this out the way. Who is the best big man in the NBA today? I need to know from the masses and everybody watching this video, who's the best big man? Who would you take? And we're gonna get right into it. So let's get it popped. So I gotta look at a few things while I look at the best big man. So we gotta look at a couple things, quite a few things, like who's the more talented, who is the guy who you expect to lead your franchise, who is the more dominant center, who is the better leader, X, Y, and Z. All these questions, I'm going to start, going down the list of what I would feel and who I would pick as the best big man in the league. You got other guys like, Karl Anthony Towns, Bam Adebayo. I don't really consider Giannis as a center per se, big man, so I'm going to leave him out this category. Anthony Davis has pretty much digressed. So, I mean, it's these two. It's Nikola Jokic and Joel Embiid pretty much. If I look at, down the line, look at the positives and negatives, let's start with Nikola Jokic. Positives with Nikola Jokic, obviously, he's MVP candidate, MVP last year. He can shoot the three. He can, post up. He has a nice touch around the rim. He can rebound the ball, even though he can't jump over, a pencil. He can rebound the ball. He's also, his assist, man, like how he's able to pass the ball. I saw a pass last night against the Clippers where he drove down the lane, and when he passed it with a two-handed pass to the corner, I think it was Monte Morris, if I'm not mistaken, or Will Barton, one of those guys, or Aaron Gordon. And the way he was able to pass the ball and see him without really looking at the player directly, I was like, is this a center or is this a point guard? Because it's like centers ain't supposed to make reads like that. There's point guards that don't make reads like that. But he's able to obviously, pick apart the defense with his size. And it's just like you have to pay attention not only to his scoring, but also how he's able to get teammates involved. That's a very special gift that he has. He reminds me a lot of Larry Bird, not because he's white, but his playing style, how smart he is with the ball, as well as Zach Randolph, because how big he is. He doesn't really have no size to him as far as, stature, but he's able to use his body, his 280-pound body over other players and get them in foul trouble and, get his shot off, man. And that's greatness. So he has that going with it. And also, Nikola Jokic is very durable. He had, I think he missed one game last season, I believe, in an 82-game season. That's really impressive to do, not miss any games but one. He seems to be very well liked with his teammates. He's very competitive. All, things that great players have, all those intangibles. So he has all that going for him. They're in the 6th spot, I believe, in the Western Conference. So he's keeping them afloat without Jamal Murray being there and Michael Porter Jr. So he seems to be very impactful. But as far as Joel Embiid, his positives, of course, he's athletic, big. He's very big and solid. When he does play, he's obviously just dominant. It's so much talent in that dude that you understand why some people would say if he's healthy, then he can be the best player in the NBA. Because his size and how his skill set in the post, how he can shoot threes, how he can rebound the ball, how athletic he is why people still put them in that top 5 category when he's ready and when he's healthy. He seems to, have leadership with his teammates. Without Ben Simmons, same thing with Nikola Jokic, the second best player. He's able to keep them in a flow. I think they're top 4 or 5 in the Eastern Conference, which now the Eastern Conference is just complementary to the Western Conference. So we can no longer say that the Eastern Conference is easier when the records are pretty much identical from top to bottom, from 1 to 8. So he's been very competitive with this Philly team. So those are all positives that we look at. As far as the negatives on both sides, I'm going to say that the negatives on Nikola's side outweigh the negatives on Joel Embiid's side. Nikola Jokic, as dominant as he is, there are certain styles and players that can disrupt his flow. And when I say that, I'm talking about the Lakers when they played them in 2019 in the bubble, or was it 2020? They played them in the bubble when they had Anthony Davis and Dwight Howard on them. Those guys are obviously more imposing and more athletic and more, just as strong. So they were able to kind of somewhat nullify Jokic. Like Jokic looks very good against guys who are smaller than him or probably slower than him. But guys who are athletic, who are strong, like the Joel Embiid, like the Anthony Davises, like the Dwight Howards at the time, Giannis Antetokounmpos, Bam Adebayo, he's going to have trouble against those guys because he doesn't have the athleticism those guys have. So those are guys that can match up to him very well, even though Nikola Jokic is still great. A guy like Joel Embiid, you can't really game plan for him. There's no real answer for him. The only thing that hurts him is injuries. But when he's, as far as another player, you can't really game plan for Joel Embiid because he can pretty much do anything against anybody because he has it all. He has the physical tools as well as the skill set to, pretty much dominate any way he wants to dominate. Um, but again, he's always hurt a lot of times. And also, he seems to put himself in bad situations because of how his little antics on the court, how he falls down, how he, plays, with his against his it's kind of childish that makes him in bad situations. But with that being said, I'll still take Joel Embiid because if you're talking about full strength, both sides, I'm gonna take Joel because I can get more out of him. I can see he could take over against anybody else in the NBA. Which Nikola Jokic, if you can be physical with him, he's a little bit more of a liability because you can't match up with the physicality and athleticism of Anthony Davis or Dwight Howard or even a Joel Embiid or Giannis Antetokounmpo. Once they play those type of players, then it kind of makes it a little bit tricky to kind of see how Nikola can really dominate. But as far as him as a player, man, he's unbelievable. He is an MVP from last season. He reminds me a lot of Larry Bird and Zach Randolph. He's a mixture of those two. Joel Embiid, he reminds me a lot of Akeem Olajuwon, but his discipline is what I have to question. But if you're asking me who I'm gonna take, I would say Joel Embiid, but you can't really go wrong with either or. You're gonna still get an A+ player. You're gonna still get one of the top 2 centers in the league. But for me personally, who I would take, it would have to be Joel Embiid. But let me hear from what y'all gotta say. You know what I'm saying? Continue to follow us on social media. Continue to like, share, subscribe all of our videos. Pull up a seat, pull up a chair, pull it up. Peace. Out of here like swimwear.